Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this post-mortem of my Blitz game number 868. I had the white pieces and started off with e4, and my opponent played c5, the Sicilian defense. So one of the things I found interesting about this game was the move order wrinkles in the opening. We ended up in a Sicilian dragon, and I had the most common setup against it, known as the Yugoslav attack, but we didn't get there by the most straightforward move order. And I continue with knight f3. That's the main move, but knight c6. So this is the first move that's not, I suppose, in the main line of the dragon. Normally you get to the dragon by the move order with d6, knight to f6, and then g6, something like that, with maybe knight knight c6 thrown in there at some point. But he goes knight c6 right away. So this can introduce a number of different systems. It also gives some choices to white as well. So white could go with a Rossolimo here, or with a knight c3 Sicilian. But I'm going for the open Sicilian. I like to play that. Take back. And he takes. And now he plays knight f6. So this move order is most often used, in my experience, to... well, he's attacking the pawn. Let me defend it. And then I'll talk. This move order is most commonly used to introduce the Sveshnikov, which would be the move e5 right here. If black plays the move e5 right away, that's known as the Kalashnikov, and it gives white a later opportunity to play the move c4 there and get a Maraxi bind kind of setup. So this is a Sveshnikov move order wrinkle, knight f6, first attacking the pawn, and then e5. But he didn't play e5 here. He played g6. You can see it's a pretty rare move. The other thing that white can do, one of the other things black can do in this position, is play d6 and transpose into a classical Sicilian. So you can see it's a pretty flexible setup. But I've never actually seen the move g6 in this position. And so I just continued with f3 and go for a typical kind of setup that I have against the dragon. There is better here, though. In this particular position, because of black's move order, I could have exploited it with the move knight takes c6. Bishop e3, by the way, the top choice here would also lead to the same kind of position we got in the game. But if I were to take here, it presents black with a choice. If he takes with the d-pawn, I'll probably trade queens. So taking with the b-pawn is a way to keep material on. But then e5 is a move that's, catches this knight a bit off guard. I mean, the knight could try to come out here, but it might get trapped. So knight g8 is the main move here, and then bishop c4. And this is a position that's almost winning for white. So black's move order was really pretty inaccurate at this point. At some rather than playing g6 here, he probably needed to play d6, and he does play that later in the game. If he wanted to get to a dragon, that's the way to do it, or a dragon type of setup. Anyway, he went with g6, and I didn't exploit his move order wrinkle. I just played f3, and you see it appears we're out of the opening book, but watch what happens over here on the right side. So he plays this, I play this, the normal moves, and now all of a sudden, if he had played d6 right here, we'd see we'd be in a very popular line of the in the opening book database. So yeah, this is a classical a classical dragon. He castled first. I went queen d2. And he went d6 now. So you can see that we've gotten into, once again, we've gotten into a very populated part of the opening book. And the two main moves for white here are bishop to c4 or castles queenside. You see bishop c4 is the top choice. The idea is to prevent black from pushing on with d5. But in fact, I'm okay playing against that d5 line as well. It seems like white still has some edge in that line. And lots of times the black players don't know to play the d5 move. So I just go ahead and castle there. Let me see. Let's back up one move. Yeah, right here. It's actually a bit of a mistake for black to transpose into that classical Sicilian. He could actually get in d5 in a single move right here. And this actually leads to a good position for black, equal or maybe slightly better. So my move order, when I didn't exploit black's move order, I was giving away something to black, and now here was black's chance to exploit my move order with that d5 move. Let's see. Well, just to look at this, he could play d5, and I could castle queenside, and well, it's kind of a messy position. Black has a number of choices here, though. He can take here, he can take here, and just seems like he's okay in all these lines. The chess engine actually gives a slight edge to black, although I think it's probably about even in practice. Anyway, let's go back to the game. I went queen d2. He didn't go with d5. He went with d6. And so, as I said, we get into a classical Yugoslav attack against the dragon. I castle queenside. He plays a6. A bit of a tempo loss in this particular position. d5 is the move here, or knight takes d4. But anyway, let's go with the game. I go with g4. I just get my typical attack going. He trades, so that was probably good. Reduce my force here. He goes bishop to e6. It's a good diagonal for the bishop now that this knight has been traded off. Play king b1, and he goes rook c8. But this position is actually pretty favorable to white. This is a line of the dragon, the Yugoslav attack against the dragon, which is good for white. So black probably should have gone with those one of those d5 moves earlier on. In fact, I used to play the dragon as black, and I kind of gave it up because even though maybe theoretically black can hold, the attack is pretty easy for white to play. So very natural kind of moves once white starts throwing these pawns forward. It's just open up the H-file and mate you. And I got tired of facing that all the time. But, well, if it's played correctly with the dragon, you do get some counterplay, and we did see this in the game. So he played h4, which, I played h4, and he stopped it with h5, which is one of the main ideas, actually. One of the main ways of playing it. Go bishop d3 now. He goes b5, trying to get his counterplay going. And I go with knight to e2. The chess engine liked knight e2, but it also pointed out that I could go ahead and take here. It kind of likes this line as well. It's giving a winning edge to white, by the way, in both of these lines. Then knight to d5, bringing the knight out this way. And let's see, after an exchange, let's say I can throw in this check, and then bring the queen over to h6 and get a really fierce attack going this way. I'm not bothering to take back those pawns, but I'm just going to push forward here and try and open up the H-file. Anyway, pretty interesting play. Knight e2 was also good and rated by the chess engine as winning. Just wanted to point that out. So black continues. I think the difference here compared to many positions in the dragon is that I'm just a little faster. Black's counterplay is a little slow on the queen side here. So I bring my knight in, knight to f4. He goes bishop to f4. I wasn't really worried about this bishop to h6 move. I figured I could take here, getting the bishop and the queen. He didn't try that. He went bishop to c4. Yeah, so I did get into trouble in a move or two, actually. So knight to f4 is setting up this problem, which is these two pieces are in a forking position, and they can't be forked right away. So I suppose I didn't think about it when I played this move. But after bishop to c4, I didn't recognize that bishop to c4 introduces this threat, and I probably should have done something about it. So after this exchange, he took, and probably the reason he took with the pawn there is he didn't want me to move my bishop, and I didn't. I just took over here, which is what I've been planning to do. If I just drop my bishop back to c3, then this is still a winning position for white, and that's what I should have done. So it's at this point really that I have to do something about that fork, and I just didn't. I took over here, and he played the fork. And well, the funny thing is that even though black wins a piece, this position is still rated as about even by the chess engine. So I have enough, well, with the pawns and the open lines around his king, I have enough counterplay, so it's actually worth a piece. He took the bishop, probably a good choice. And then I grab one more pawn by taking with check. It's not just about grabbing the material, it's about opening up lines around his king. Took back, and I brought my rook over to the open g file. And now he pushed on with c3. So at this point it's about even. c3 actually starts to give the advantage back to white. He should continue with a move like queen to b6. This is how black can kind of hold this position. It's it's all about the counterplay. Now c3 is a big threat because it'll threaten mate. I have to drop my queen back to defend. And, well, his attack doesn't break through, but mine doesn't break through either, and it seems like this position is about even. So anyway, he went c3 a little bit too hastily. I can just take here, and let's see, he lined up with rook b8, threatening to come in on b7, and I probably should have done something about that. The most highly rated move here by the chess engine is just to play b3. I was thinking my attack was quick enough here I didn't have to worry about it, but it does, when he opens up my king side, it opens up these drawing ideas as we saw in the game. So knight e6, I mean, it looks like a big threat. I'm hitting his queen, I'm attacking this pinned bishop over here. He of course gets to take with tempo, but I was just planning to step aside, and I didn't really see the follow-up. And there isn't any follow-up, but this is still about even if he plays queen to d7. The point about, he played queen to e7, which has a lot of the same ideas, but the point of queen to d7 is it also defends the knight. So let's see, if I take here and he takes back, I'm not taking his knight, which I did in the game. I can take on c3. He can drop his rook back, and once again we have a position that is even. So that's how black can hold, basically. He went queen d7, and I am once again winning. I take, he takes, and then here's where I make my mistake. Yes, I think this is my last mistake in the game. I grabbed the knight. Of course, I can take the pawn first and chase his rook away, and then grab the knight, and that's just much safer. I just didn't see that he had this clever idea here, and I just grabbed the knight right away, and now he found this. I have to give him credit for this. This rook takes a2 is the only move here that keeps black in the game, and it's sacrificing a piece, but he can get a perpetual out of this. I really have no choice but to take. His queen comes in with check. I ran here. His queen went here with check. I ran here. His queen went here with check. Ran here. I'd calculated all this out, and then he blundered. So this should be a draw, just to show how it ought to go. He could play queen b1 check. Go here. He could take this pawn. Just drop back. And he can keep checking me here, or he can drive me this way. Queen d3 check. Yeah, this is the computer line. King goes back, and then the queen goes there, check. You see it's a repetition. If we back it up, there was one other idea here. I was wondering if he could use this check on the back rank to pick up a rook. So the first thing to notice is that after this check, I play king e1. If he checks on the back rank, then I can bring my king over and I hold on to the extra rook. So I keep some material. So he can't grab the pawn and get a rook. But what he could do is right here after queen b1, my king ran to e2. At this point, he could have grabbed a rook. But it turns out this loses. This is a pretty interesting line here. If you can figure out why this loses for black, it's kind of an interesting exercise. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. So I take, and it's with check, so he has no choice but to take back. And then I have this move, queen g5 check, to force the queens off. And this is a winning king and pawn endgame. It's not just that I have an extra pawn, but after the queens are exchanged, all these pawns are connected over here, and I'm just in time to stop his pawn, right? If he goes here, I go here, and I'm in the square of the pawn. He can't queen that pawn. So there was no way for black to turn this around and get a win. You know, if he could somehow grab the c-pawn and get rid of my extra rook, then he would have these two pawns over here. He might have some winning chances, but the best he could really do in this position is go for the draw. Instead, he traded, and when I take back the check, he resigned because there's a mate and two coming here, or one. Anyway, there was no escape at this point. So, interesting and back and forth game. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you later. Bye.